Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver out of Florida, surprisingly, is your newest member of the San Francisco 49ers. How, why this pick happened, breaking down the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft right now on Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We appreciate all of our everydayers out there, and we appreciate everyone who's subscribed on YouTube. Hit the notification, the thumbs up. We love you. And, of course, you can subscribe everywhere you listen to your podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Ricky Pearsall, Croc, wide receiver out of the University of Florida. He is a player that you had mocked to the San Francisco 49ers not once, but twice. We did an episode together doing a live mock draft where we selected Ricky Pearsall. In round 2 for the San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they went with Ricky Pearsall in round 1 of the 2024 NFL Draft. What are your immediate thoughts on Ricky Pearsall, the player, and Ricky Pearsall, the selection this high, pick 31 overall to the San Francisco 49ers?
So we did. I posted, really, I did one mock draft solo, and then obviously we did our dual one, but in each of them, we did have the 49ers taking Ricky Pearsall. But my initial reaction to the 49ers taking him at pick 31 was, oh, Brandon Aiyuk's gone. Right? Like, that was my initial reaction. And my mind went to 2018 when the 49ers selected Mike McGlinchey. And I'm like, what? Why would the 49ers select Mike McGlinchey? He's an offensive tackle. You have Joe Staley. You have Trent Brown. Why would you draft him? Like, is he not going to play? And then overnight, a trade happened, and we realized, oh, Trent Brown was shipped off. So that was my really initial reaction. Not even so much, and we'll talk about a lot of the comments that we're getting about it being a reach and maybe why they may have had to reach. We'll discuss that. But for me, it was really more so about, oh man, what does this mean for Brandon Aiyuk for them to draft this receiver and try to get that 5th-year option? Because, you know, you get first round, you get that 5th-year option, you draft this receiver here. What does it mean for the guys in the building with all the chatter we've been hearing?
Ricky Pearsall, the player, Croc. Let's start there, and then we'll talk about whether or not it was a reach, whether or not he's a good prospect, whether he was worth the first pick in the NFL or the first round pick in the NFL draft. He's a player we both liked, and he's a player we both identified as a player that fits the San Francisco 49ers. As you mentioned, he's been in a mock draft a couple times with us during this process. He's a player that not long ago I put out there that that he would be a fit for the San Francisco 49ers. But what are we talking about with Ricky Pearsall? When you watched Ricky Pearsall's tape, why would you even slide him into a mock draft no matter what the round is for the San Francisco 49ers? What traits did you see in Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver, that made you think, man, this would be a nice fit for the San Francisco 49ers?
I think he has a really good skill set that fits what the 49ers want to do. You know, he's a guy that you're definitely going to see line up in more of a tight split, or maybe even in a slot, maybe more of a Z receiver as opposed to an X receiver, somebody that's consistently on the ball. You want to move him around a little bit, but he has really good hands. When you think about, you know, what he does at the top of routes, I think he has really good. He does a really good job of selling routes at the top. You know, using his rocker step. That's like kind of stepping one way, the other way, then going the opposite way. Nice fluidity there. You know, when you think about, you know, what he does, you know, with the 3-cone, right, with his testing, that's something that Kyle Shanahan has really prioritized. He had like top 3, if not the fastest kind of 3-cone in the entire combine. So from a skill set standpoint, I think he kind of checked a lot of the boxes, as well as being able to block and kind of be, I don't want to say physical, that's not the word I want to use, but just somebody that's going to throw his body around to try to contribute in that. So he really identified to both of us as a Kyle Shanahan guy. And you were on it earlier than most people. March 13th, I think that the tweet happened. You sent out a tweet and said, these are 3 guys that I identify as Kyle Shanahan type prospects. There we go. Malachi Corley, Lab McConkey, Ricky Pearsall. So you were all over it. I don't think that this pick should be surprising. I think it's just surprising a little bit more as to when they drafted him. And if you kind of take away the round, all right, don't think of the round, just think of the pick. It's pick 31. Would you have liked, and not ask anyone this, thinking maybe it's a reach, but would you have liked it more if it was pick, 41? If it was 10 picks later, would you be like, oh man, Ricky Pearsall, we got Ricky Pearsall at pick 41? Would you like that more? And maybe Peacock, you can kind of go into why maybe the 49ers had to take him at 31 as opposed to getting him at 41 or maybe even later.
So the biggest question for me is, was he one of John Lynch's 22 first-round grades? Because I think that might be a little off, and that's too high. We identified him as a second-round guy. I liked him as a second-round guy. I thought he'd be a second-round pick. He's a second-round pick all day, and he's a really good prospect and someone that obviously I identified as someone who would fit for the San Francisco 49ers that Kyle Shanahan would like. There was players I liked on the board more than Ricky Pearsall, and there was 4 guys that I thought were pretty solid first-round types of players. I don't know if they're first-round guys every single year or not. Those 4 guys being Cooper DeJean, Johnny Newton. There was, who am I missing here? There was Kool-Aid McKinstry and one more. I've got my big board up over here. I can just go look at it. Who am I missing?
While you're bringing up their big board, there were some things that I felt, right? Like, I have been a big proponent of where the game is moving, and it's about offense, and it's about scoring much more, trying to really put up as many points as possible. Everyone thinks, oh, defense wins championships. Dude, I've watched the 49ers have some really good defenses, and it has resulted in 0 Super Bowl wins. What is going to help put the 49ers over the top? Just being better offensively. Now, again, my initial thought was, with this, what does that say about Brandon Aiyuk? But if you have Aiyuk, if you have Deebo, if you have Ricky Pearsall, I think I even like the pick even more. When you say that, I like the pick just from the standpoint of the player. But when you're saying, oh, now this is our repertoire, I'm not as high as a lot of 49er fans on Juwan Jennings. I think it makes the 49ers more dynamic, especially when you throw in George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey as well.
All right, we got a lot of takes all over the map in the live chat. I'm seeing them on social media, in the OT with BP live room when we were streaming live as the pick was selected. Croc. Here is the measurables for Ricky Pearsall. University of Florida. He is a 5th-year senior out of the University of Florida. He had 65 catches for 965 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. He led the team in receiving. He also had a 14-yard rushing touchdown. So maybe he can even be a yak bro for the San Francisco 49ers. 6'1", 190 pounds. He ran a 4.41 at the combine. Pretty scorching combine times, Croc. This guy worked out fantastic in Indianapolis. 4.4, 140, 1.49 10-yard split, which is really fast in the first 10 yards. 42-inch vertical jump, 10.9 broad jump, 4.05 in the short shuttle, which is phenomenal. 6.64 3-cone, which is among the best, if not the best, at the wide receiver position, not only this year, but would be the best most years. And then 17 bench press reps to boot, which is a nice little number for a guy's 190 pounds, Croc. 6'1", 190, that's not far off from where you're at. Are you putting up 17 bench press reps when you were 22 years old?
16.
Okay.
When I was 23. I was 23.
So Look, the reason you should love Ricky Pearsall is he's the Eric Crocker of wide receivers.
I was heavier though. I was closer to 200 pounds.
Oh, okay. You had 10 pounds on.
Same height.
But those are kind of ridiculous testing numbers, Croc.
Really good. Those are really good numbers.
And everyone's
we talking about my weightlifting numbers. I'm not close to him on the 3-cone, 40 agility drills. He's blowing me out the water with those.
42-inch vertical? No.
36.
Oh, 36, you're throwing down jams, dude. 36 is not bad at all. Okay, more on Ricky Pearsall, how he fits with the San Francisco 49ers, what this means for the 49ers, not only in the draft and day 2 of the draft, but on the roster, and what might be afoot for the 49ers by the time we wake up on Friday morning before round 2 next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is the place if you are either hiring or you are a small business, because when you're a small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role that you want to fill, right? You don't just need a good candidate. You need the right person. You need a pro. You need a professional, and they have to be the right fit for your role, just like if you're a football team trying to find the right fit for your roster. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just some other job board. LinkedIn helps you find the right folks for your job, because there is the vast network of, we're talking 1 billion people on LinkedIn. You can find these folks because they are not looking anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, you might find them on LinkedIn, and they might be perfect for your role, and they might be open for that perfect role, because in a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit any other job boards. If you're not looking on LinkedIn, you are looking in the wrong place. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode of your favorite Locked On podcast is brought to you by the best meal kit service in the game, Home Chef. No more having to answer the dreaded question, what are we going to do for dinner tonight? Thanks to Home Chef and their chef-designed recipes that are delivered directly to my door, all pre-packaged, pre-portioned. They even peel the garlic cloves for you. And each recipe, one of my favorites, blackened mahi, comes with a full page of easy-to-read instructions that include customization options and pictures to guide you along the way through the step-by-step process, so you don't have to ask, is that what chard looks like? I cannot recommend Home Chef enough, especially right now, because for a limited time, Home Chef is giving Locked On listeners 18 free meals, free dessert for life, and of course, free shipping on your first box if you head to homechef.com/lockedon today. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 18 free meals and free dessert for life. Yes, you heard that right. Homechef.com/lockedon. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert.
All right, Croc. Ricky Pearsall, the selection for the 49ers at 31 overall in the 2024 NFL draft. And well, more on Ricky Pearsall in a minute and how he fits. But talking about the draft game in the first round, there was so much smoke about the 49ers trading Aiyuk, maybe even Deebo Samuel, maybe moving up in the first round, what the plan might be for the 49ers. And in the end, they stuck at 31 and they made a pick. But you know what happened right before that? The Kansas City Chiefs, who were right behind them, moved up with the Bills to pick 28 and took Xavier Worthy. Do you think the Chiefs went up and snatched the 49ers guy right in front of them? The Texas alum, just like head coach Kyle Shanahan?
I think both you and I, when we watched his film, even with the dynamic measure, the one thing that was really questionable about really both receivers was, how much do they want to block? How much do they want to get dirty? So I don't know if those guys, although they have a lot of ability as pass catchers, are they Kyle Shanahan guys? And I don't think we identified them as that.
I think the Chiefs snatched Kyle Shanahan's guy. I think they went up and got Xavier Worthy. And I don't think that necessarily means the Niners scrambled and they weren't prepared because they didn't know who to take at that point. But I have a feeling they might have taken Xavier Worthy over Ricky Pearsall. And clearly they were willing to take a wide receiver here.
Well, the thing I'm going to disagree with there is I don't think you say, oh, man, we want Xavier Worthy. Oh, we didn't get Xavier Worthy, so let's panic and draft Ricky Pearsall.
Right. You don't draft a player at 31 if you don't love him fully. Right. Yeah. And so maybe they liked Pearsall more. Maybe there's a lot more to come, Croc, because if there's a trade, they're going to be picking again quick, probably before pick 63, right? So, but hold on, before we get to all that stuff, because there's a lot that could happen on Friday in round 2 and 3 of the NFL draft. But Ricky Pearsall, he's an interesting profile. So you see a guy who's 6'1", 190, 4.41 speed, 42-inch vertical jump. You see his highlight catch, one-handed grab in traffic. It was the catch of the year at the University of Florida. You think this guy's a dynamic downfield player. That's not really what he was. He's not a home run hitter. And you had a comp for Ricky Pearsall, and I don't know if it'll excite 49ers fans or not, but lay it on me here on Locked On 49ers. Who is your pro comp for Ricky Pearsall and the style of player he is?
So I try to stay away from this guy because I don't want to do the whole thing where you look at a receiver or just a player and their skin tone, and because of the skin tone, you compare them to a guy and that's that, right? But Ricky Pearsall, clearly white guy. Actually, we call him Slick Rick. Got a little flavor to him. But I compare him to Adam Thielen. And Adam Thielen was a Division III prospect or Division II prospect. And he got to the NFL. He ran well, wasn't the fastest or most explosive guy, but he had some really good years. And 2017, 2018, we're talking about a guy, 91 catches, 1,200 yards, over 1,200 yards, almost 1,300 yards. And then the next year, 2018, 113 catches, 1,373 yards, 9 touchdowns. He had another couple of years, 14 touchdowns in the season, 10 touchdowns in the season. I believe with his skill set. Now, again, Adam Thielen was more of an undrafted guy, but if we're just talking about like if there was a redraft after he had some of those explosive years, where would Adam Thielen go? Probably much higher. He had a really good ability, and you watch him, man, terrific route runner. There was a time where people said, man, is Adam Thielen one of the best route runners in the entire NFL? He was really good, and I thought he complemented Stephon Diggs extremely well. I think Ricky Pearsall is that type of guy. Will he ever be a bona fide wide receiver one? Maybe not. I don't like to put limits on guys. Maybe not. Maybe he will, but we probably lean towards not. But if you're saying he's a really good wide receiver too, or complements what the 49ers do offensively in the passing game, I could see him definitely being that guy.
I don't know what Adam Thielen ran. He wasn't a big time prospect and not a first
4.45.
anything. 4.45?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I was going to say, imagine Adam Thielen running 4.41, but he wasn't that far off. Yeah. Well, that style of player, and that's what Adam Thielen is. He's smooth. Here's another thing about Adam Thielen, and the 3 cone is something that Kyle Shanahan loves. Kyle Shanahan, which is part of the reason I identified Ricky Pearsall as someone that the Niners would draft and that Kyle Shanahan would love. Kyle Shanahan loves guys with great 3 cones. He wants guys that are quick and separate underneath and intermediate levels of the football field. That's where he wants to run his offense. And that's what Ricky Pearsall can do, whether it was Trent Taylor or Jalen Hurd, right? He was a big time 3 cone guy. Kendrick Bourne, 3 cone, not speed down the field, 3 cone. Juwan Jennings can get open, can separate short area. He's not a burner at all. Kyle loves that 3 cone, that short area ability for a wide receiver to uncover in the short and intermediate area. And that's what Ricky Pearsall is. And man, the Thielen comp is actually pretty good. And he was one of the best receivers in the NFL for a time too. So that's not a disrespectful comp either.
Thielen at 6'1", 192. What did we say Ricky Pearsall was?
6'1", 190. He was 189th combine, 191, 2 pounds heavier at his pro day. He's 6'1" even. So 6'1", 190. That's what he is. 4.41. Thielen was 4.45. So there you go. that's pretty good archetype for what Ricky Pearsall is. And he's got speed, and we've seen him go up and get balls in traffic as well. Is he a yak bro? Is he going to be a monster blocking people? I'm not sure, but there's a clear connection, Croc, that I want to talk about next that I think is something that should not be underrated about Ricky Pearsall, and it's something I didn't realize until tonight. And diving a little bit deeper into the beast and some background on Ricky Pearsall, I think there's a big reason, and it shouldn't shock anybody what this reason is, that Ricky Pearsall is someone that the 49ers gravitated to next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Monopoly Go. And we've all been there either as a player or a fan. It's halftime, scoreboard not looking good, you're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep. You lift your head up and you say to yourself, it's time to get back in the game. Time to pull off some bank heists and take as much money from my friends as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime. Tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. You can smash their buildings. You can charge them rent on all the iconic Monopoly properties. You can also work with your friends to crack open community chess and win tournaments and to get extra rewards and climb those leaderboards. So get back out there. Put your game face on and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. So, Croc, did you know that before his 2 years as a starter at the University of Florida, Ricky Pearsall played at a different college, back where another 49ers wide receiver also used to play his college ball at Arizona State under head coach Herm Edwards? I find this fascinating because the 49ers and John Lynch trust Herm Edwards and what he says about a player. This from the Beast in the Athletic from Dame Brugler, some of the background on Ricky Pearsall. The summer before Pearsall's senior year, Arizona State head coach Herm Edwards, this is high school senior year, invited Pearsall to a camp. Pearsall earned an offer and committed almost on the spot to Arizona State. He was the number 20 recruit in the Sun Devils 24-man class in 2019. It's the same class as quarterback Jaden Daniels, which means Ricky Pearsall back in 2019 and 2020 was a teammate of Brandon Aiyuk. I had no idea. Ricky Pearsall was Brandon Ayuk's teammate when he was a young college freshman back at Arizona State. Because of multiple NCAA violations and turmoil under Edwards' watch, Pearsall and many other players like Daniels and wide receiver Johnny Wilson, who's at Florida State, who was also in on a 30 visit with the San Francisco 49ers, 6'6", 231 pounds. Look out for him on day 3, potentially, for the 49ers, maybe a converted tight end, potentially. They all left the program in 2021. Pearsall entered the transfer portal in April 2022, committed to Florida a month later. And, more background information there. But
also, there was a tweet or text from Brandon Aiyuk to John Lynch after the pick. He said fire pick.
There you go. And which leads us to what we wake up news-wise to tomorrow morning. Mike Silver of the San Francisco Chronicle said, going by the people he has spoken to and his sources, it might be more likely that Deebo Samuel gets traded than Brandon Aiyuk. Maybe John Lynch is trying to unite former Sun Devils with the San Francisco 49ers. In that case, you move Brandon Aiyuk to that Z wide receiver position. You start to feed him more. You start to feature him, move him around the formation, and then you have Ricky Pearsall playing that X spot, running all the dig routes and stuff that Brandon Aiyuk was doing in the San Francisco 49ers offense. What do you think? Can you envision that on the football field for the 49ers?
I think Pearsall is a Z receiver. So there was somebody in the chat that was like, he's not great versus pass. Well, because of the position he plays, I don't think he has to be great versus press. Like, he is a Z receiver. I think he's the guy that you have in the slot that you do, if you want to play him outside, quote unquote, it'll be a tight split outside. And he can do that. But I think he's the guy that you're going to probably put in motion a little bit more. And then when you think of the 3-cone and the L drill and kind of that change of direction, I think that all helps him, right? Like free him up. Do those things that I wanted you to do with Aiyuk, but you identify Aiyuk as your X receiver. I think Pearsall will be more of a Z than Aiyuk. And we're hearing the things about Deebo Samuel potentially. I just don't see it. They already told him, dude, you're safe. You're not going anywhere. He tweeted out, like, you guys can continue to run with those whack narratives or whatever. Like, I know what's what. They are not doing anything with Deebo. And unless they get like a crazy haul, maybe Washington. If Washington's like, hey, we'll give you 36 and 39 for Deebo, like maybe, but I don't see them moving off Deebo. If anybody gets traded, it's Brandon Aiyuk, and then he kind of. But even then, Z receiver for Ricky Pearsall, and I think you really like him there.
It feels like Aiyuk or Deebo has to be traded tomorrow with this trade going down this way, or with this pick going down this way. I feel like that's going to happen, and maybe it doesn't, but if I'm envisioning what the offense is, and Deebo stays and Aiyuk stays, and there's no trades on Friday, Croc, Ricky Pearsall is essentially he could absolutely line up in the slot. He can do all of those things, right? Is he just going to replace Ray McLeod as he gets his feet wet and get, 14 catches or whatever in his rookie season? Is that what the 49ers spent their first round pick on? Is all about the future in that case? Because if you don't move Aiyuk or Juwan Jennings or Deebo Samuel, he's going to roll into camp fourth at best on the depth chart.
And I think with how the 49ers do things, they make guys, you got to earn your stripes. When you draft a guy first round, you do want him to be out there. Now, Kyle Shanahan, he will put guys in the doghouse if they're not doing the things that he wants them to do, right? Like with Brandon Aiyuk, it wasn't that he couldn't be talented, that he couldn't be a guy. Brandon Aiyuk came in and had almost 800 yards as a rookie, played well. But what did Kyle Shanahan say going into year 2? Well, heck, if we had healthier guys, he would not have even played really. But guys were hurt, so he had to play.
Yeah.
If Slick Rick, a.k.a. Ricky Pearsall, comes in and plays a certain way to the standard of Kyle, at least approaches the game that way, he will have him on the field. And you're still going to have Juwan Jennings out there. They did the whole, was it restricted free agent signing. Yeah. So, there's a little investment there. They'll like him. But if we start to see more and more of a role as the season goes on with Slick Rick, I would not at all be surprised by that. I don't think they want to redshirt Slick Rick. As long as he comes in and has the mindset and understands what is expected of him as a pro and what the 49ers standards are with where they're playing. Like Florida has not been good. This isn't your Urban Meyer Florida teams.
Yeah.
So maybe some of the preparation there has fallen off a little bit. It has not fallen off with the 49ers. You have to play to a certain standard. But if he comes in and understands that, I don't think there'll be any issues.
What's the plan tomorrow, Croc? Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver out of Florida. We've kind of broken down what we think of him. We'll do deep dives here and talk more about Ricky Pearsall, the player, and do deeper dives of film watches on him. He's a player we liked. We both identified, albeit more second-round guy than first-round guy. My guy TJ Smith said, Croc, that he's everything Dante Pettis was supposed to be. What do you think about that?
And I also see someone else, like they kind of compared the weight closer to 191. And if you look at him, he looks well, like put together. Pettis always looked a little stringy with his movements and stuff. Like Slick Rick, he doesn't come off as like that to me whenever I've watched him. And I watched a good amount of Florida games this year with him in there, and he was productive in all of them. But as far as the comparison to Dante Pettis is another guy. Again, we can't look at a guy's weight, height, weight, and compare him to the next guy. Like, how did they play and what were the issues? Why did Dante Pettis ultimately not work out? Was it because he could not be an NFL player? off of ability? Like, absolutely not. He separated well. He had good enough long speed. He didn't have it here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was Dante Pettis' issue. Like, he was productive as a rookie. Even after coming off of an injury, he came back and still had 500 yards, missing half the season, had a 76-yard touchdown, whooping Davis from Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like destroyed him, a guy who ended up being a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback. So Pettis had everything it took to be good, aside from the mindset. So like, that's the difference. So don't compare their height and weights. Let's compare their mindsets. And if Pearsall has a mindset, I get it, drafted higher than people will want. But if he has that mindset, he's not what Dante Pettis ultimately ended up being. As far as what we're looking at moving forward with the second round, is there maybe the center, Jackson Powers? We talked about potentially trading up. I lost the bet there. Do you think that maybe the 49ers say, all right, like, let's try to go get Jackson Powers. We're going to give up a lot to go get a guy. So now at least maybe we're missing some fourth round picks, maybe a next year third, but we have some guys now that we feel like these guys are going to make immediate impact to a Super Bowl run, maybe trading up for a guy like Jackson Powers, Johnson?
I'm glad you reminded me. I think Croc owes me like $1,000. Is that what the bet was? I can't remember what the bet was. I don't think we decided on it, that if the 49ers were going to trade pick 31 or not. And I said they wouldn't. Croc said they would. I was just kind of playing the odds that I think most picks are more unlikely to be traded than likely to be traded. And they did not end up trading the pick. And they selected Ricky Pearsall. I think there is a trade in round 2, Croc, and I'd be shocked if there's not a trade in round 2. I don't know if it's going to be a Deebo Aiyuk trade and the Niners are on the clock immediately to start round 2. I don't know if they're going to move up from pick number 63, but I have a feeling one of those guys that maybe was on a 30 visit, one of those players that might go early, mid round 2, the 49ers want to go get, and it's maybe one of the guys that we identified as a first round pick, and then they go up and get one of them. So if the Niners are able to go up and get Jackson Powers Johnson or Johnny Newton or Cooper DeJean or Kool-Aid McKinstry, then what's the difference if it's flipped from what we thought they would have done anyway, and they would have gone up and got Ricky Pearsall, who probably wasn't going to be there at pick 63 anyway, who we thought was a second round guy. So all's the same if that's the case. So we'll see what happens and what the plans are. And who knows, the 49ers might draft twice in round 2, because they might have a very early pick from a wide receiver they trade away tomorrow as well, which would be kind of expected at this point, and it would inform a lot of what happened on Thursday night.
I didn't see Ricky Pearsall on their target list of pick guys that they would potentially pick at 31, but Cooper DeJean still being there. I think a lot of people, that's who they wanted, and I think that's why there's a lot of fans upset by that. They still have the opportunity to potentially get him.
There's a lot of fans that were upset. They just wanted a tackle, and that's it, offensive tackle. That player wasn't really there for them. My favorite guy left is Kingsley Suamataia. The 49ers could go up and get him tomorrow as well in round 2. So that stuff's all in play, and those guys are all still on the board that we would have liked the 49ers to take at pick 31. So let's see what they do. The plan has not been completely finished by the San Francisco 49ers. They haven't completed their plan. Let's see what that is, because I'm very curious. There might be fireworks, and there might be fireworks early, and there might be fireworks while we're sleeping, Croc, before we even wake up in the morning. And it might be a 2018 Mike McGlinchey trade Trent Brown situation for the 49ers in this draft. Croc and I, of course, will be back to break it all down. We're going to be live streaming during the second round on Eric Crocker's channel. Go to youtube.com/@Crocky209. Croc and I will be there. I'll probably be hitting up the Overtime with Brian Peacock YouTube channel as well during the draft and some other parts of the weekend. Croc might join me there again as well. And of course, we'll break down all the picks right here on Locked On 49ers. Thanks for subbing up. Thanks for joining us on the lives. It was a fun evening of NFL draft. Let's do it all again tomorrow right here. Locked On 49ers.